Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. I want to thank you for tuning into the program. Today, we got something really special lined up for you guys. We are going to be playing a video. We're pulling it from the Live Free Academy vault. We're going to be playing you the speech that the one, the only Joel Salatin delivered at the very first Exit and Build Land Summit. That's right. So the Exit and Build Land Summit is this great event that Live Free Academy, the company I founded back in April of 2021, puts on. This was shortly after April when we started. It was the very first in-person event we did, November 2021. Lockdowns, craziness. Everyone's like, what are we doing? We noticed there's this huge momentum and desire for people in freedom that care about freedom, care about privacy, could see through this whole New World Order scamdemic. They wanted to get out of the cities, rightfully so. So we decided, let us do what we can with the knowledge that we possess in order to help our freedom community exit the cities, buy land, and build community in the country. And that's what the Exit and Build Land Summit was all about. We've since had 4 events. And the one, the only Joel Salatin has spoken at 3 of them, 3 of the 4. And he's done an incredible job. The first event, he spoke virtually, wasn't able to join us, but he joined virtually. And then for Land Summit 2 and Land Summit 4, he was our keynote speaker in person at the Bastrop Convention Center. Really powerful. But we're going to take you back today to where it all started, where Joel delivered a 1-hour speech. And we asked him, can you talk about community? Because there's actually people that live there on the property with him. So in essence, Joel Salatin's Polyface Farm is an intentional community of sorts. And he shared about some really radical and horizontal cooperative style ways that they compensate people that work with them. He talked about how they run their business, talked about regenerative agriculture, of course, and stewarding of land. It was a really solid talk. Everybody was completely captivated the entire time. It was a 1-hour talk. This talk isn't available publicly. It's only available to the folks that bought a ticket to that. We gave it away as a bonus to other Land Summit tickets in the past. But before we play the video, I'm going to play it for you guys. You're going to love it. I do want to invite you out, of course, because this year for the Exit and Build Land Summit coming up May 23rd and 24th, we are actually going to Polyface Farm. That's right, my friends. We're going to be hosting the event at Joel Salatin's Polyface Farm. How cool is that? So if you're a farmer, homesteader, or anyone trying to live good off of your land, you're invited to the most famous regenerative farm. That's right, the most famous regenerative farm to discover how to get everything you want from your land, food security, financial abundance, and a lasting legacy using the proven methods of the world's most famous lunatic farmer. That's right, friends. If you join us at the Exit and Build Land Summit, we will be hanging out with the one, the only Joel Salatin. But not only that, friends, the event takes place the 23rd and the 24th. That's a Friday and a Saturday. On Sunday, May 25th, we're going to be hosting an exclusive and intimate offsite mastermind group with the one, the only Joel Salatin. We're going to facilitate a curated mastermind event where you can leverage the wisdom of Joel Salatin in order to apply his knowledge to your specific needs, my friends. And not only that, but depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching before March 3rd, the tickets are actually $200 off for regular tickets. And then if you want to join us for the VIP Mastermind, that's $300 off. So the retail price is going to be $12.97. You can get the VIP Mastermind ticket. Join us for the Sunday event for $9.97. And right now it's $200 off to get the 2-day pass. Join us for the event, the meals, the workshops. And if you've been to some of our events in the past, you know that the events have been very speaker heavy, talk. These are going to be very workshop and demo and practical hands-on knowledge heavy. So you're going to absolutely love it. You can go to exitandbuildlandsummit.com. That's exitandbuildlandsummit.com to check that event out. Hey guys, if you're liking the show, I'd love for you to go subscribe to this Live Free Now Show YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. You can find that at livefreenow.show if you want to listen via podcast. Share it with your friends. Scream it from the rooftops. We are so grateful to have you listening and having you tuning in, my friends. So without further ado, let us go ahead and share the talk that Joel Salatin did at the Exit and Build Land Summit 1 in November 2021. Enjoy, my friends. Nope. Okay. We're not going to see me. We don't need to see me. That's all right. Okay. All right, Joel. I want to thank you so much for agreeing to, they're not here to see me. We're here to see Mr. Salatin. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy farming life. I can't imagine having a farm on the scale that you do. And we're super excited to hear from you. So I shared a little bit about what this event is all about. It's called the Exit and Build Land Summit. And so it's a bunch of like-minded people that care deeply about freedom. And our goal is to educate people and inform them, and most importantly, to empower them to move out of the big cities where all the crazy corruption and tyranny is taking place, and to buy land and build communities in rural areas. So when I thought of who we could invite to speak and present to us to help inform us and inspire us about this, you were the person that was at the top of my mind. And my lovely event organizer, Rita Bobita, she reached out to you. And so we were super excited when you agreed to present for us. So we have about an hour and a half here, and I'm going to go ahead and let you take the floor and just share some of what you've been doing, some of your ideas and strategies. And then we'll chime in here a little bit closer to, what time is it right now? A little bit closer. Okay, we'll chime in a little bit closer to 6:30 or so, and we'll do some Q&A. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Yes, we're all in. We're all in.
All right. Take it away, Joel.
Okay, well, it's a delight and honor to be with you, John. Thank you for being a true leader in this, and it's just, our times call for leaders. I know that everybody here attending this is kind of already, in this mindset, but I think it's good for me to kind of set where I am, whatever, in my thinking, as we start down this. So I'll just start out by saying we live in unsettled times. I think you have to be an absolute, whatever, not on the earth to think that we live in settled times. We live in very unsettled times. There's a tsunami of interest, of course, in what I call it generally disentanglement from the system. So many people I meet now, how do I disentangle? How do I disengage from the system? Food, energy, health, recreation, investment, all these things. And what we're seeing for sure is we're seeing the idea of efficiency being replaced by resilience. In fact, in the last, somebody went back and looked at the minutes or the transcripts. I can't imagine this, of the British House of Parliament, actually, and counted the number of times the word efficient or efficiency was used in the last 10 years versus the word resilient or resiliency. And what they found is that in the last couple of years, the words efficiency and efficient have dropped by half, and the words resilient and resiliency have increased, have doubled. So clearly, what's going on is making people start thinking about resilience. There's, it's been globalization, and now suddenly we're hearing localization, bring the manufacturing back. And so many of us are actually considering, how do we, with all this going on and dependency on OPEC, dependency on China, dependency on everything, Taiwan, whatever, how do we build a parallel universe for health, economy, food, energy, water, those kinds of things? And interestingly, I had a long conversation recently with a couple of just getting out of the military, special forces guys and their wives. And as we examined what are our options for building a parallel universe, it was interesting. We kind of boiled it down to two ideas. One is you can go to Idaho and live in a cave and, basically be a mountain man and trap your food, or you can build community. Those are kind of the two viable alternatives. The problem is that both of them have one thing very much in common. One obviously is a hermit existence, and one is a very a highly relational existence. The one thing that the two have in common is that you can't do them in a day. The self-sufficiency in a cave, the hermit existence, requires a tremendous amount of expertise to know the ways of the wild and survival. And building community, of course, isn't done in a moment either. They both take time. And so the interesting upshot of the conversation was we all agreed in general, especially our wives, would much rather pick option 2. I'll pick door number 2. Thank you very much. The community thing, rather than the hermithood living on pine needles and bark in a back of a cave in Idaho. So, what's the goal of this is not to actually extricate ourselves from the world. Our goal here is to provide hope and help when the rest of the world is hopeless and helpless. I think that if we become disengaged because we want to run away from everything, we will not actually accomplish our end game. And our end game is to be a place of haven and anchorage for folks who are struggling. So the question is, how does a remnant, and I've used that word a lot lately. I am a Christian, and with the vaccine mandates and all this that's going on, what I've been looking at lately is, how does a remnant flourish? If we're going to have to build a parallel universe and be a remnant in a dysfunctional time, how does it flourish, not just survive? As you know, people are buying properties. Homestead, small acreage sites have probably tripled in price in the last 12 months. It truly is a tsunami as people move to what they view as kind of an agrarian bunker. In fact, in the last 4 years, we've actually helped about half a dozen urban folks buy farm properties within about 10 to 20 minutes of us here in Virginia. They don't live there, but they buy the property. We then manage it, and we promise them, if the wheels fall off and you can get here, you'll have a place, and we'll make sure you have the place. So the fact is that it's really hard to completely dial in to imagine what things would look like if the wheels fall off. In fact, one of these folks is a billionaire, and he has a couple teenage daughters and a wife. And he said, look, I think things are going to go south. I want one of these properties. And so he's actually actively pursuing one as we speak. And he asked me, he said, I want you to tell me what wheels falling off means to you. And after a lot of thought, I finally responded, to me, wheels falling off means you can't get power, no electricity. You can't get fuel, no gas and diesel, and you can't get grain. If you can't get power, fuel, or grain, that's the wheels falling off. Now, while that may sound extreme, I would just say that if that happened, our culture would change so much that we can scarcely imagine what things would look like afterwards. And so the context of what I want to present to you is not like, surviving the apocalypse. What I'm presenting is a strategy that will allow you to at least be the last man standing. And I'm not trying to be sexist here, the last person standing. Okay. Because there's a lot of satisfaction or, help, comfort, in being the last person standing. I'll give you an example. Several years ago, you'll remember what it was like 8-9 years ago when fuel prices spiked. We were paying $4.50 a gallon for diesel fuel. And I mean, at that time, I was being asked to do presentations at peak oil conferences, and this is it. Paul Ehrlich finally was right, 40 years later, but he was finally right. We are going to run out of oil. There aren't going to be any more, blah, blah, blah. And so at that time, there was a lot of press about agriculture and the use of fuel on farms. And it turned out that I'm sorry, 50%, 50% of the fuel used on 50% of the expenses of the average farm in America, 50% of the expenses is on fuel, on energy. And I saw that, and man, that just doesn't sound right. And so we did a deep dive into our books and accounting, and lo and behold, we found that even though we make deliveries to the urban sector, we run 2 trucks, the 2 trucks on the road every day of the week, almost making deliveries out to these urban customers. The percentage of our expenses on fuel was only 5%. So the average in America was 50% on a farm. We were only 5%. Now, are we still dependent on fuel? Yes. All right. So we still buy fuel. But the epiphany for me at that time and the comfort was, my goodness, diesel could go to $12 or $15 a gallon and we'd still be surviving. We'd still be okay. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, can we, I'd love to eliminate fuel, but the first step is to be the last person standing. And if we can get to the last person standing, the hope is that, by the time you're the last person, there will be innovation out here on the fringes to figure things out, alternatives to survive. So with that kind of preamble, let me go through a list of what I'm going to call very practical considerations if you're going to build an agrarian bulwark. So the first thing, of course, is where you're going to locate. If you're going to flee the city, where are you going to go? And so it's kind of a checklist. If you think about this, I think you need to look at where do you have resources, family, expertise, friends, community. Where do you have resources? People resources. Where do you have infrastructure inputs? If you go out to a place where it's 200 miles to a Coke machine, and I'm not advocating buying Coke, but if you're 200 miles from a Coke machine, parts, nails, screws, everything you get is going to be a 400-mile round trip. That's difficult. Okay. So think about resources. And then too, if you're going to actually develop this into something where you sell things, produce or beef or pork or eggs or whatever, milk, think about markets. And so in general, I encourage people, I would rather own 10 or 15 acres within 30 minutes of an urban sector than own 1,000 acres that's 200 miles away from a Coke machine, because the resource capacity is just a lot better to develop friendships, to find expertise, to find markets, to find infrastructure inputs. It's just better if you're not completely on the backside of no man's butte. In general, I try to encourage people to bloom where you're planted. You don't have to move across the country. If you're in an area, sometimes moving 10 miles can be the difference between, vulnerability and resilience. If you can get just 10 miles into a better spot. And the reason that it's best, the reason it's good to stay or bloom where you're planted is because things there, the climate, people, you have a record, you've paid your bills, you just have, where the doctors are, where the herbalists are, the acupuncturists, maybe, where there's a health professional that will take a couple of turkeys in trade for medical advice. That's the kind of alternative universe we're looking for. But for sure, be careful about hardship places. In farming, we call some land hard land and easy land. We really make that decision. Hard land and easy land. What makes a land hard? Well, dry, steep terrain, real rocky, floods, I wouldn't go to a coastal area, for example. The coastal area that's so prone to hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes and things like that, it makes it very difficult to to have portable infrastructure, which I'll talk about in a little bit. It's highly vulnerable. So beware of hardship places. Remember that all land can be healed. So if it's not very fertile, I always encourage people buy non-fertile land. In fact, right now, all of the gurus, I would say, in sustainable agriculture, including me, Elliot Coleman, Ben Coleman, JM48, the Singing Frogs Farm. I mean, the folks that are really leading this movement, all of them have settled on infertile land. Land is living. Land's biological, and biological things can heal. And so don't pay for somebody else's stewardship. You just buy what somebody else failed, and then you heal it and make it better. I'm a big believer in Dave Ramsey's proximity principle. And so if you want to move and relocate, get proximate, get near where you want to be. It doesn't really just get where you want to be. Don't buy land yet. Just get to where you want to be and give yourself time. The most important thing is to not be in a hurry. These things take time. It takes time to build, connections, relationships, networking. What's available. A lot of land is sold on the QT. It's not sold real publicly. It's, so the proximity principle is get to where you want to be, and at least, I see the question, is there time? At least if you get near to where you want to be, if things fall apart, then at least you'll be nearer to where you want to be than still, looking at places 500 miles away, if that's where you end up wanting to go. Now, here are some considerations about the purchase of a property. And this might be counterintuitive, but look, you're getting a lifetime of experience here, and a lot about. I do a lot of consulting for newbies who have purchased land. I've been on thousands of farms around the world, all different kinds of cultures and different situations. So just take it. This is my deal. Buy as little as possible. A lot of people want to buy as much as possible, as much land as possible. But I can tell you, it is the most common mistake that people make is they blow too much of their capital, their nest egg, in the land, the property, the house, that sort of thing. And then there's nothing left to capitalize. There's not enough left to buy the cow, to buy milking equipment, to buy egg washing machines, or chicken processing equipment, or a meat saw or bandsaw or a walk-in cooler or freezer, or the different things. And so you've got to leave wiggle room for capitalization. If you run out of capital, then you're going to be pretty stressed. Don't build buildings. Everybody has these. People come to this with this fantasy. They've seen this bucolic pastoral picture in Southern Living or some farm magazine, and erase that from your mind. Okay, erase that from your mind. Those pictures are all made of either places that took outside money to build, or they accumulated over a long period of time. My mentor, Alan Nation, who founded the Stockman Grass Farmer, says he always said that a profitable farm actually has a threadbare look. And one of the most common things that people say when they come and visit us here at our farm in Virginia, we do have about 15,000 visitors a year here. One of the most common things they say is, "Well, it looks poor." The land doesn't look poor, but the buildings are whatever. They're not pretty. They're functional. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Generally, you want to go to a farm, a place that has a few buildings. Ideally, you have no buildings. That way you can live in a tent and you're not paying for a house that's going to be hard to retrofit or too big or too little or whatever it is. It's hard to retrofit buildings, especially bank barns. Those are the iconic, Americana barns that are on the picture of every farm, Christmas card and things like that. If you have one of those, the first thing you need to do is tear it down and reuse the material to build something that's functional. They're completely dysfunctional. I don't have time to go into why, but they're very dysfunctional. You want a little bit of a diversity on the place. Ideally, a little bit of forest, a little bit of water, a little bit of pasture, a little bit of diverse ecologies. And then think about the neighbors. How close are they? Go knock on their door. Visit with them a minute. Are they weird? Are they okay people? Are they paranoid? Are they completely ignorant? What does this look like? Pick 2 or 3 of the proximate houses, go visit with the people and find out what the neighbors are like. I'm a big believer in renting first or leasing. In other words, you buy as little as possible and then you can always expand with leasing. See, the fact is the American average farmer now is 60 years old. So in the next 15 years, half of all American agriculture equity is going to change hands to the next generation. Now, in many cases, that next generation doesn't want to stay on the farm. They've already left the farm, and so they're inheriting it, at 50, 55 years old, but they don't want to lose the farm. And so there are a tremendous amount of properties coming up available. We now manage, about 15 properties here, real close to us. Some of them are these urban folks that are buying properties, but several of them are 5th, 6th generation farms. And, it's still owned in the same family, but they're not making a living from the land anymore. They're working in town or whatever. So, buy as little as you can stand, and then or rent, or buy as little and then expand by renting. You can expand with renting, expand with leasing. Property values, like I say, the small acreage has gone up. Large acreage has not. Anything over 50 acres has not really been affected by this urban tsunami, at least yet. But anything under 50 acres has probably doubled in price in the last 24 months. So the question is that going to come down? And the jury's out on that. I mean, some people think that this phenomenon we're seeing is going to continue for a while. Others that I respect say that as inflation develops and interest rates go up, land prices will plummet substantially because people can't borrow money. They won't be able to to get capital. So that's a consideration. All right, now landscape design. So you're on your place, and trust me, everybody, I'm giving you a very, very shallow and brief kind of overview to try to be as comprehensive as John Bush could get me to be. And when he gave me this topic, I wanted to address it as generally and comprehensively as possible. And then we can drill down on any of these during Q&A. But when we look at landscape design, there's the principles of permanence that were developed by P.A. Yeomans, who was the Australian who developed the water systems, and they've been refined a little bit by the Regrarian platform under Darren Dougherty and Lisa Heenan. But the first one of these is access, and so the fact is that if you can't get to it, you can't manage it, you can't deal with it, you can't do anything with it. And so access is really critical. You want to place access, in other words, lanes in the property, access roads, lanes, whatever in the property. You want to place those where you get drainage. You don't want to put them on top of a hill. You don't want to put them in a valley because both of those places you're going to get mud holes and ruts and it's going to be a mess. So you want to, ideally, you carve these into the edge, the break point between a ridge or a slope or a slope and a valley, those have breakpoints. The terrain is never in a linear, it's never in straight lines. It undulates, okay? And so so these lanes will use the terrain to place them so that you can always get drainage. We like to outslope our lanes rather than inslope. That way you don't have to use any culverts. The thing that destroys farm lanes is water, both volume and velocity. And so what you want to do is put periodic breakpoints in there, little look like speed bumps on a 45-degree angle, so the water hits them and continues to run off the road, so that you don't get a buildup of volume or velocity. Then, of course, you need a hub. You need to find a hub place. In permaculture, this would be called zone 1. This is your curtilage. This is your house, garden, herb garden, a corral with animals, those sorts of things where your activities are concentrated. And so select that area, your hub. Think about, ideally it's in the center of the property. It doesn't always work, but it should be as near the center as possible. You want to leave enough room for bulk purchases of things. So a cattle trailer can get in there, a tractor trailer with product can get in there that you can get off. Don't press it up so tight that a delivery vehicle can't get in there with stuff. So you got your hub, got your hub picked, and then think about control. All right. Now, of course, I'm a livestock guy, and there's a wonderful thing about animals. The reason that in so many areas of the world wealth is measured in animals is because animals are real-time nutrition. That's why a milk cow, for example, was tethered to the back of the wagon on the Oregon Trail, because that offered real-time nutrition. When there's no power, no refrigeration, and you're moving, that milk cow is a portable, a portable nutrition vat in real time, and kept a lot of people alive. And of course, the bison in pre-European America, the bison. One of the most interesting talks I ever heard was out in Kansas, and a guy gave a talk on the bison, the mobile supermarket, and how all the pieces were used for digging and rope and nutrition and shelter and all these things. And so animals have wonderful properties for self-sufficiency and self-reliance. They give fertility, which is magic. They give real-time food, and they're mobile. If you have to flee, you can take them with you. And the nutrition from them is extremely concentrated. Believe me, when Daniel Boone went out through Kentucky, he didn't have watermelons and zucchini squash dangling from his saddle horn. He had pemmican and jerky and dried meats dangling from there. It's said that in general, those folks could take more than 30 days of food on their saddle horn and live extremely well with 30 days of food on their saddle. That's pretty good. You can't get that. You can't get that with even fruit leather or dehydrated raisins or something like that. So if you're going to have animals, and I encourage people to have animals, you need a good boundary fence. That needs to be a physical fence. And then all of your internal can be electric. And of course, those are going to run down the edges of your access lane. So now you have control. You have an artery that you can get animals in, move them from place to place without them getting out of there. And if you don't know where to put these internal fences, I encourage the 3-year rule. The 3-year rule is make everything temporary, and then whatever you don't move in 3 years, make that permanent. A lot of people invest way too much in fencing, use up all their capital in fencing, and it's all in the wrong place, but they've put so much money and energy into it that then they live with the dysfunction for the rest of their life. So don't do that. Make it all temporary first. And then water development. If you don't have water, you can't do much of anything. And rather than drilling wells, I'm a big fan of ponds. And just remember that globally, on average, 1/3 of all raindrops run off as surface runoff. 1/3 of them. So if you're in a 30-inch rainfall area, which would be everything east of the Mississippi plus others, 30-inch rainfall area, that means 10 inches a year is going to be surface runoff from your place. Well, 1 acre inch of water is 30,000 gallons. 1 acre inch, that's 1 inch spread over an acre, is 30,000 gallons. So if you're in a 30-inch rainfall area, every acre is going to generate 30 times 10 is 300,000 gallons of water per acre of watershed. What I'm getting at is it doesn't take much land to feed a pond. And a pond development will often only cost, about a penny a gallon in excavation, depending on where you are. I see something popping up. The NRCS will cost share with you. Let me tell you right now, folks, you never want to participate with a government program on any of these kinds of developments. They will add tension, headache, and problems to your thing. You're a lot better just finding a good old geezer in your area that's grown up on an excavator, knows how to build a pond, and say, go build it right there. No licenses, no compliance reports, no government offices, just do it. And then it'll be yours and you won't be obligated to the government for anything. Believe me, we've worked with several programs like this, these NRCS grant programs. Every one of them is a mess. They don't allow you to do lots of things. All your water needs to be portable, mobile water. You don't want stationary water troughs. You never want to haul water. You want to put it in a pipe. Probably the most valuable asset on our farm here that nobody sees because it's not visible is we have about 10 miles of gravity-fed buried water lines on the farm that feed 70 psi gravity water over the whole farm from permaculture ponds that we've dug up in the high ground. And so even if the power goes off, as long as gravity doesn't quit, and if gravity quits, I'm out of here, right? But as long as gravity doesn't quit, we get clean pressure water over the whole farm. Well, okay, so we've got this kind of development going on. So what are we going to grow? Okay, what are we going to grow? So my rule of thumb is feed yourself first. Replace your grocery bill. That's the place to start. Don't raise something that you don't eat. Look, if you're not eating it right now, if you're not eating goat meat, don't raise goats. Look at your diet, look at your menu items, and say, what can I grow here? And start to replace your groceries. Because remember, everything that you replace that you don't have to spend money on, you don't have to earn money to buy that. And so that means that if you don't have to earn it, you don't have to pay taxes on it. So every dollar you save is actually worth about $1.40 or $1.50, depending on your tax bracket. Every dollar you save is worth $1.40 because you don't have to to pay taxes on it. So just work with things that you like. Realize that we're not talking about complete independence here. I'm a big believer in mutual interdependence, because the fact is you're never going to do it all, and you're never get good at it all. You just realize that you need to do what you eat and what you do best. Work with incremental development. Every enterprise and species has a learning curve. And so one of the problems is people come into a piece of property, and they got this romantic honeymoon fantasy idea. We're going to do it all right now. And then suddenly, the whole thing is a catastrophe. The cows are running down the interstate. The sheriff's parked outside because the neighbors are mad, saying that, your goat ate up their flowers. Now you got to pay a $500 flower replacement bill. The pigs rooted up the rose. Things just go to pot. And so appreciate the journey. Okay. Appreciate the journey. You haven't gotten where you are overnight, and you won't extricate yourself from it overnight. So enjoy the incremental development. Pick one or two things, do them well, and then go on and add other things. Start with what's easy. Don't start with what's difficult. Start with what's easy. That's the snowball idea, and get some success and get some confidence built up first. Always get your infrastructure in place before you get animals and plants. What I mean by that is, if you're going to get a cow, make sure you've got a corral, a head gate, and a physical structure to put her in. Else she jumps off that trailer and she's going to be in the next county, and you're going to have a liability problems and lose your salvation and have a heart attack till you get her back. If you're going to grow trees, you want to get your holes ready. Don't go and buy trees before you know where they're going to go, and you prep the holes. Get your holes prepped first. And ideally, that's a 1-year preparation. You decide where they're going to be. You dig the holes. You fill them with compost. Let the worms come in. Let that whole site become acceptable to the tree before you put it in the ground. Grow what you like. Okay, next, development considerations. Remember that on this property, you want an intersection of environments. The 3 environments are water, open land, and forest land. And the more you can intersect those, the more resilient that land base will be. You want more diversity, not less diversity. Take advantage of microclimates. Is there a southern exposure on the house, for example? You can put a solarium there for season extension and for passive solar energy gain. Ponds. One of the beauties of ponds is that you can put a pond in an area, and on the leeward side where the westerly winds come across that mass, thermal mass, you get a frost-free zone on the leeward side of that pond. That gives you a really wonderful way to have season extension, have frost-prone things like bramble fruits, strawberries, fruit trees, things like that, to use a pond as a microclimate. We're too cold for figs, but we have a southern aspect terrace by a hoop house with a terrace with concrete block, and we've been able to grow wonderful figs because of the thermal mass creates a microclimate of additional heat on that southern aspect. So think about that. One of the permaculture concepts is when you get a property, you shouldn't do anything for 1 year except walk it every single week or month with a notebook, and you record where are the wet spots, where are the dry spots, where does the snow pile up, where does it not, because the land has warm tunnels of air, cold tunnels of air. I mean, there's if you want to plant grapes, well, look where the wild grapevines are growing. That indicates that that's conducive to growing grapes. Let the land talk to you. I'm not being mystical and weird on you, but one of the biggest problems we've gotten ourselves into as a culture is dominating onto the land, and I'm going to make you, force you. We have this mentality, and we're coming to it. We're going to put our land in a half Nelson. I'm going to make you do. And actually, what we want is for the land is to ask the land, what do you want to do? What will heal you? What is beneficial to you? Where does abundance lie with you? And we want to simply be a caresser of not a reluctant partner, but a benevolent partner that wants to give back. The land just wants to be caressed in the right place, like a lover. Okay, and so that's the way we're looking at the land. To see what's conducive there. Think about season extension. Hoop houses. You can extend seasons with hoop houses, and you can extend seasons with root cellars. Okay, you don't actually have to have a plant growing, but with a root cellar, you can take that squash, and then those potatoes, and you can take those potatoes through the winter without refrigeration, without freezing, and without canning and processing in a root cellar. When you talk about infrastructure, always think about function over form. There's always time to make it pretty. There's not time to make it functional. So I'm a big believer in pole structures, pole buildings, for a lot of reasons I don't have time to go into now. Mobile infrastructure. Remember, nature sanitizes only 2 ways. There's only 2 ways nature sanitizes. One is with rest and sunshine. And that's of course the animals moving every day across the field. The second is vibrant decomposition, like a compost pile. So if we're going to have animals housed, and there are reasons to house animals from time to time, if we're going to house them, we need our infrastructure so that it can handle deep bedding a la compost, so the animals can be on compost, and that will create a pathogen-free, non-toxic zone underneath. We call it a carbonaceous diaper. Animals need to move. All animals need to move. You can't have them in one place. If you've got 2 cows, you want to move them every day or two to a new paddock. So you don't have a 5-acre field with 2 cows in it. You have a 5-acre field that you divide up, every couple of days into, up to whatever, 100 paddocks. They're not permanent paddocks. You're simply using portable electric fencing, the portable electric fencing then becomes the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator on that 4-legged or 2-legged animal to move them around the pastures day to day. If you're, most of you, I'm sure, would want to grow produce, vegetables, garden beds. I'm a big believer in garden beds. You don't have to till this. One of the big reasons for garden beds, I don't care whether you outline them and they're at ground level or whether you build them up. I like them built up a little bit. But one of the beauties of garden beds is, they give you a clearly defined area to work in, so it doesn't look like you're just working, there's no end in view, but mainly they're child friendly. It was really easy to, it's wonderful with children to be able to tell them, you can walk here, you can't walk here. Otherwise, children are walking through, stepping on the green beans and ripping the cucumber vine out of the ground, that sort of thing. So with garden beds, the delineation is very simple, even for a toddler to be able to see, so they can be with you and learn about the garden in a friendly way because it's clearly delineated. Fertility, I'm going to run out of time here, but fertility is all about the carbon cycle. Wood chips, that's the number one driver. Where will you get them? Think about developing relationships with the arborists in the area, buying a chipper, that sort of thing. We never sell carbon here. We're always trying to get carbon. We have industrial chipper. That's our fertilizer bill. Broad considerations. Okay, start with common. Don't make the mistake. Make your mistakes on cheap stuff. And this speaks a lot to the very sophisticated, heritage breeds. Look, people think I'm opposed to heritage breeds. I'm not opposed to heritage breeds, but I will tell you, if you're going to buy a heifer for $2,000, if she doesn't pan out, and a lot of them won't, her salvage value is only about $700 or $800. But if you buy an $800 cow from a neighbor that's a 4-year-old cow, grown up in the area, has been used to the area, and she doesn't pan out, her salvage is worth what you paid for her. And so there's always time in your life after you've developed mastery and skill. There's time to if you want to go to exotic genetics, heritage breeds, exotics, whatever, if you want to do that, that's fine. Don't start there. Start with what's common, that has a lot of options in your area, a lot of knowledge and skill base in your area, and something that has a market for the salvage, so it's real easy to salvage. Remember that also if you're marketing, again, my mentor Alan Nation used to say in marketing, you can be a nudist or you can be a Buddhist, but if you're a nudist Buddhist, you just won't be able to market anything because they won't trust you. And so some of these exotic breeds don't look normal. They're too nudist Buddhist, and so that's one reason why we grow Cornish crossed broiler chickens. People, we've taken a lot of heat sometimes. Oh, you're growing those industrial chickens. Yeah, but the carcass and the phenotype looks enough like a store-bought chicken. It doesn't turn our customers off, and so it makes marketing easier. Specialty is always expensive. The uncommon is hard to replace. So beware of that. Now, scaling. Okay, so you're up and running. How are we going to scale? We're going to scale with duplication, not centralization. So our 3 objectives here with infrastructure is we want it to be mobile, we want it to be modular, and we want it to be management intensive. Those are the 3 things that the industry hates. And so we are 180 degrees different than the industrial, which wants stationary, centralized, and as few people as possible. No, we actually want people. That makes our farm equity in experience, management, and information. So when our farm equity is in skill, management, and information, that is skill that's easy to turn around. We don't have to borrow it from a bank. But if your farm equity is in infrastructure, then it's very difficult to turn that ship around if you want to, change something. Leverage your equipment and buildings. Think about multiple purpose and more hours on it. Think about leasing equipment. You can lease a chipper for a week a year and generate 3 tractor trailer loads of chips in a week for $1,000 rental fee, and take the chipper back, and you don't have to maintain it or run it. If you're going to own it, you want to put a lot of hours on equipment. You want multi-purpose buildings, things that you can do a lot of different things in. On land, you can scale land with leasing. Just make sure that you have a clear expectation on both parties, so that they know, when you're sitting here to lease land, listen for the dreams of the landowner. Ask them, what's your objective? What's your goal for this land? And then make sure you're compatible with that, and that you can manage and hit their hot buttons. And a lot of times their hot buttons are not that cash expensive. They're just little things like hang some gates, go over, if a tree falls in the yard, cut it up for them. Haul a couple things of gravel in their lane, push out their lane when the snow comes. These are things my son Daniel calls these pot sweeteners. They might not cost you more than $100 or so, but they'll often be worth $1,000 to your landlord. The beauty of leasing and renting land is that it's rented on the basis of production value, not market value. The problem is now that market value of land doesn't have any relationship with productive value of land. Rent does. So if you know how to do better with a piece of land, which is what we do, we double and triple and quadruple its production without capital expenditure, without that much additional cost, and so, but we don't pay any more rent for it, because the rent is established by the local market. There's a guy in Missouri who lives in a real special niche where everybody's moved out, the farms are all sold, and they've all been bought by hunt clubs and things, and he Greg Judy is his name, and he leases, I don't know what, 7, 8 properties, and several of his people actually pay him to be there so they can stay in land use taxation. So you'd be surprised sometimes the options for leasing land. Of course, if it's the closer to you, it's more valuable. And make sure that if you're going to put capitalization on it, like water lines and fencing and things like that, that you either trade that off in rent over time, or one of the things that we've done is we simply put a 20-year straight line amortization on that. And even if we have a 5-year lease, that essentially gives us a 20-year lease. So we get to use it for 20 years while it depreciates. Personnel, scaling with personnel. What we want is performance-based compensation. We don't have any by the hour wage earners. I don't believe in it. We want either clearly defined project with a salary, or piecework. And that means you have to do time and motion studies to decide what a certain project is worth. And then you farm it out with a memorandum of understanding, what we call an MOU. Then you're going to be building community. Okay. Think about proximate folks. Here's what we're looking for, folks. When we're building community, we want people proximate to us who know how to grow things, build things, and fix things. If you are hooked up, close, related, as friendship with people who know how to grow things, build things, and fix things, that's about as good as you're going to be. That way you can share infrastructure, you can share marketing, and everybody's cross-trained, so you can, if somebody gets sick or wants to go on vacation, you can cross-train, you can cover for each other. One of the biggest problems in farm operations is a lack of ability to get away if you want to get away. The fact is, all the gifts and talents necessary to be successful don't grow on one pair of legs. I'm almost done here. Last page. Actually, not the last page, but it's close. So we've talked about dreams and fantasies and all that, where we're going to go. Now I'm going to get to real brass tacks here with you, and that is doing something now. How do you know that you're cut out for this kind of thing? And I'm going to say you've got to fill up wherever you are. Look, if you've got a half-acre yard and you don't already have a garden in it and some rabbits and a backyard flock of chickens, you're probably not your demeanor, your attitude, your lifestyle. You're not set up to do what we've just described. So the litmus test is, if you'd rather watch a football game than grow a tomato, you're probably not set up to do what we've just been describing. And then the next thing is, what about the kids? Find out. Generally, if they're under 5, no problem. Under 5 years old, they think you're, heroic and you're, Wonder Woman, Wonder Man. They'll go anywhere with you. But once they get over 10 years old, it can be a big problem. So, so find out about. I've seen families just ripped apart and torn apart, where mom and dad suddenly, have this epiphany, move the teenage kids out to the country, and the teenage kids just go bonkers. And so in some of those cases, it might be better to do what you can where you are and simply develop really good alliances with farmers in your area to supply you, or farmers that you can know about. Experience is always your greatest equity. So whatever you can do now, even if it's a vermicomposting bin under your kitchen sink, do something now. What are you doing now? Experimentation is how you find your soul and what you're good at. Maybe you kill all your plants. Maybe you just don't have a green thumb. Those are important things to find. Self-reliance starts in your kitchen today. Are you using your kitchen today for processing, preservation, preparing, and packaging? If your pantry is full of processed foods and spam and store-bought canned green beans and whatever, you need to have a serious talk with yourself about, am I really ready for the rigors of self-reliant living? Because I'm not even being self-reliant where I am. Offer to donate time and labor to mentors in your area, to farmers. Doesn't matter if they're organic or not. Doesn't matter. You can learn a lot how to build a post hole or hang a gate from somebody, even if they're spraying, Roundup. Read extensively, attend seminars, invest in information. Last page, preparing. Okay, preparing. You've got to agree on objectives. Remember that two people coming to this are going to have personality issues, and I'll just mention a couple of them that are really significant. One is, what if one is a cleanie and one's a messy? Okay, those are big deals. What's this homestead? What's this new place going to look like? One's a cleanie, one's a messy. Those are areas of tension. What if one's a starter and one's a finisher? That means all these projects, if one's a starter, there's going to be a lot of unfinished projects around, and this is going to be tension. So you gotta work on that. What's how many unfinished projects can I have and not get in, and still remain romantic in our married life. Introvert, extrovert. I mean, this comes down to, people around. This is a really big one for Teresa and I. I'm the extrovert. She's the introvert. And so, I love people around. She doesn't. And so we've had to actually carve out. That's why we do now seminars and schedule lunatic tours. We do a lot of things to help funnel people into areas so she's not blindsided by a bunch of people running, through her yard unannounced. We have a 24/7, 365 open door policy, but these scheduled events and gatherings kind of help offer scheduled funnel places so she can emotionally wrap her head about, okay, well, Saturday we're going to have 200 people here. I'm not gonna work in the flower bed that day. Okay, I'll work in a house that day. All right, that sort of thing. Visions of look. Profitable farms have a threadbare look. Start frugal. Live in a tent if you have to, a camper or whatever. Save your stuff. Create a one-sentence mission statement. Things to ask on a one-sentence mission statement. If time and money were no object, what would I do tomorrow? What do I want on another one is, what do I want on my tombstone? What do I want said at an elegy at my funeral? All right. And I'll leave you with this. I give you permission today to dream. You know, little children have no problem with dreams. They dream, they love fantasy world, they love make believe, and they don't care how funny they look, how silly they act, or anything like that. The problem is that, you know, we try to please our parents, then we try to please the preacher, the Sunday school teacher, or the school teacher, the principal. We try to please the college professor. We try to please the, you know, the employer. And as we come into adulthood, we have lost the ability to truly dream. And so what I want to encourage you with today is right now, I give you permission to dream. Doesn't matter how crazy it is. Doesn't matter what your family says. Right now, it doesn't even matter what your spouse says. I want you to be willing to just, if time and money were not an issue, what would I do tomorrow? What do I want on my tombstone? What do I want my elegy to say? You just meditate on that a little bit. Think about that, because that digs to your soul. That digs to your dreams. And if we're going to actually create a flourishing remnant, it starts with creating a different dream of life, a different dream of interaction with our community and our world. And so I give you permission to dream, and you just dream anything you want to dream. And God bless you as you pursue it.
All righty. Okay, that was great. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me there in the chat. Man, that Joel Salatin is he's a gem. Let me get some lighting there. That looks a little bit better. That Joel Salatin is quite a gem. Really appreciate him. He's got so much wisdom, and he's so personable, and he's a rebel too. That's why it's like this perfect combo. He's living it. He's walking the talk, talking the talk, walking the walk. He's living it. He's got this incredible Polyface Farm. He's got his family involved. They build a really successful business. He knows the ins and outs of regenerative agriculture from experience, and he can teach. He's a great teacher. But then on top of that, which is why we're so attracted to him, all of that plus this is the ultimate combo. And this other side is he's a rebel. He's anti-authoritarian. And, you know, I know he's, brushes shoulders with Thomas Massey, and he's spoken. In fact, we did a little private get together with Joel Salatin for our Live Free Academy Accelerator members. After the last Land Summit 4, we went to this Mexican restaurant across the street and hung out for 3 hours. We all shared a meal together. And then for about 2 hours, he held court and just shared all sorts of stories and all sorts of like intimate details about this, that, and the other. And it was really special. But during that, he shared that he's been invited to testify in front of Congress multiple times, or certain hearings and congressional hearings. So absolute gem. And again, as a reminder, folks, we get to go hang out. Not only hang out with Joel, we've hung out with Joel before if you've come to our events, or if you're an accelerator member at that event. But we're actually going to get to hang out with Joel and Daniel, his son, at Polyface Farms. Again, it's going down May 23rd and the 24th. We're going to teach you. Well, Joel's going to teach you. I'll do a talk or two, but this is going to be very talk light. Joel's and Daniel are going to do a bunch of the work, but you'll learn how to get everything you want from your land, food security, financial abundance, and a lasting legacy using the proven methods of the world's most famous lunatic farmer. And again, it's going down May 23rd and 24th. And then in addition to that, we're also going to do an offsite mastermind on Sunday for the folks that purchase a VIP mastermind ticket. You can learn more at xandthebuildlandsummit.com. I want to encourage you guys, if you're on the fence, go ahead and make a decision. It's going to be an incredible event. You know how we take care of our folks at these events for sure. So the early bird sale ends March 11th at midnight. Depending on when you're watching this, you may be able to get the tickets at $497. That's $200 off the retail price. Or $997 for the VIP mastermind. That's $300 off. That includes meals, all sorts of education. We're going to record the events as well. We're not going to stream live this time, at least at this point, but we're going to record the events. You get access to the replays also. So we hope that you'll join us there. And guys, we're going to maybe play some more Joel Salatin stuff in the future on the Live Free Now show. We got a lot of talks and interviews and stuff that we've done with him over the past few years. He really is a gem. So again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you at the Land Summit. You can give us a call, 512-866-4439, 512-866-4439. All right, look at Cami 3233. I signed up as a VIP. I can't wait. Yes, yes. And the VIP tickets are limited. The whole event is limited, actually. I feel confident that we're going to sell out. So get your tickets now so you can be there to experience this incredible thing. We will take good care of you as we host events at Live Free Academy. We've really fine-tuned it. We've got it down to an art form, and we are going to deliver one heck of an event. Not a convention center, conference center, which is still cool. We have a great time. I'm going to do these offsite farm tours to make it more immersive. But this is going to be on-site, Polyface Farm, really special, really cool. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Live Free Now show. I was going to say you can call us if you have questions or you want to place an order over the phone, 512-866-4439, 512-866-4439. Leave a message if we can't get to you. But hope you're having a good day, and God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. All right. Peace, guys.